Good afternoon and welcome to our third session of today. My name is Michael Prue and I'm here with Command Communications. So CR Space is all about being innovative, right? So today we're all going to be innovative together. Yesterday, the posture at NAWCTSD changed to HepCon Charlie. And our next speaker, Captain Dan Covelli, was unable to make the trip. However, we are bringing him to you live virtually. So we're all going to try this for the first time ever. So stick with us. It's an exciting moment, right? But that's what we do here. With that, we will also be taking questions from the floor as well as virtually on LinkedIn. And we also are lucky enough to have Mr. John Myers, NAWCTSD Executive Director, here with us today. So he'll also be on hand to answer your questions. So without further ado, let me introduce Captain Dan Covelli, Commanding Officer, NAWCTSD. He's virtual. Oh, on video. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. My bad. We were doing a video first, and then we'll have him. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I want to thank you for this opportunity and for being patient with me and allowing us to do this hybrid event here, do this virtually. I had some emergency requirements that came up, but I'm very I'm pleased to have this opportunity. I want to thank you all for coming here. I want to show you about talk to you about some of the great things that Naval Air Warfare Center Training Systems Division is doing. And if you don't know me, I'm Captain Dan Covelli, call sign Stucky. I'm the new CO. I placed Captain Tim Ogdehill about 3 weeks ago. But we have some really great stuff here. But in order to do that, I want to raise it up a level. We'll go to the next slide, please. And I want to explain part of the organization, what makes us so great. All right. This is part of we call it the Coalition of the Willing. It's called something we call Team Orlando. All right. It started out as the longest MOA in DoD history. It goes over 50 years right now. And we started out with the Army with PM Trade back around 50 years ago, right? And it involves all four of the services. And our mission is to support the DoD's requirement for consolidated inter-service military, have a military entity down here in Central Florida for human performance modeling, simulation, and training. And we're also looking to facilitate research and collaboration of new technologies to advance this ecosystem so we can better and we're able to meet DoD requirements now. And I mentioned we had four services down here doing that. It's not all about the Navy. And that's what makes us better. It's that collaboration and the environment we've created. If you look up at the upper right-hand side of the screen, there's four entities that are the core players for Team Orlando. First one is PEO STRI. They represent the Army. Program Office, a PEO, like traditional PEO. There's PM Traces from the USMC, and they're a program office as well, the UMC ground training. There's NAWCTSD. We're a federal lab and a warfare center, Navy Working Capital Fund type organization. And then there's AFMS from the Air Force, or Air Force Agency for Modeling and Simulation, and a policy organization aligned with the A3 shop. Now, together, we bring about $6 billion into the economy. There's about 5,000 DoD civilians and military personnel running around down here. 1,600 of those belong to NAWCTSD, and our budget base is about 1.5 million of that. Now, we enjoy a lot of support from the other organizations you can see at the bottom of the chart on the bottom right-hand side, and they're part of the organization. They create this ecosystem, and we all collaborate together. We have reps with industry, education, STEM, and our pipeline for talent as well. And I'll talk more about that. And it's really all about the ecosystem and the geography. And go to the next slide, please. Now, geography does matter. If you're looking at this, we moved to the Central Florida Research Park back in 1988. We used to be down at the Recruit Training Center in Orlando. And the state of Florida bought this land right next to UCF. And we put the base there. You see, if you look at the middle of it, I wish I was there. I can't really show you in point, but there's the partnership. There's the Flores building, the annex, and the science gate. If you basically draw a circle around that, that's the base. It's 40 acres, not very big. It's the second smallest building, our second smallest base in the Navy. So now, right now, the research park is about 85% full, and we're trying to figure out ways to use our space more effectively. But if you look, you see surrounding, you see the partnership buildings. Now, in those partnership buildings, the state bought those buildings. They constructed those buildings and they lease them back to us. They lease it back at about $10 a square foot, vice 30 to 40, because they want us there collaborating. They also like the money we bring. I mean, you can't beat the $6 billion we're bringing in. But they invested hundreds of millions of dollars in those partnerships so we could have them there, so we could collaborate. And they lease them back for about $10 a square foot. I'm sure in commercial space around here is $30 to $40 a square foot. I'm sure in DC it's a lot more than that, but here it's $10 a square foot. And we're also rest of the U.S. when it comes to cost of living, so it's affordable and our rates are low, and to deliver products it doesn't cost as much. Now, if you think about that, some people would say that makes it BRAC-proof. So we're not concerned about being BRAC'd. Our concern here at TSD and Team Orlando is if someone were to come down from one of the parent commands and pull out one of their services, like if the folks at Right Pat came up and pulled AFMs up to Right Pat, or if they pulled the Marines up to Quantico, that would be bad. That would disrupt what we have going here. That's part of our secret sauce, and we don't want that to happen. As a matter of fact, many more folks are also coming down here. We've had the cross-functional team synthetic training environment. That's Army Futures Command. They came down here to develop their synthetic training environment, and they chose us over Austin or Silicon Valley or Boston. They had many choices, and they picked Orlando because of what we're doing for modeling, simulation, and training here. Also, the JAIC, the Joint Artificial Intelligence Command, they came down here as well. All right. And they chose over all those places because they wanted to be part of this team, this ecosystem we have built, and all the collaboration that we have here. We're also near UCF. That's 70,000 students that we have. Great talent pipeline. And talk to that a little bit on the next slide. But think about Orlando. Some people don't know this. Downtown is EA Sports, gaming. What looks like looking at merch, looking at all the other stuff. That's how we do some of our products. We collaborate with them. Also, the entertainment industry is down there. The suspension of disbelief. That is what we're trying to create. Think about it. When you get in a simulator, you want to create that. I want to believe that I'm getting ready to go for a night trap. I want to sweat. I want to get nervous. That's what we're trying to create. We work together with those folks, and we have that industry all together in one spot. And that's part of the magic. If we go to the next slide, please. And we do collaborate. I'm waiting for the slide to switch there. And I talked about Team Orlando and how we collaborate. And if you think of this as a Venn diagram with concentric circles, and I'm going to walk you from right to left. We got the 4 core players there, and I think I talked to you that. We have the 4 representatives, 1 from each service, and we have the support organizations for education and industry partners. Okay, and that's key. We have something called the Florida High Tech Corridor. That is our STEM pipeline. It's state funded. And it coordinates. We want to make sure we have a talent pipeline, that we have technical folks that are being educated here that stay in Central Florida. It doesn't do us any good if the folks that graduate from from the colleges that are around here go someplace else. So we want to retain them here. So that's an organization that's leading that charge. Also, we have the Orlando Economic Partnership. That is our pathway to the Central Florida ecosystem for non-traditional partners. Those folks in the entertainment industry and gaming industry. And then we have NCS, and they are industry engagement professionals. Now, we work with them constantly. As a matter of fact, All those organizations that I just named, they're on the Team Orlando board of directors, and I'm on the board of each one of those organizations. So we are aligned and collaborated, and we're using our resources wisely to make sure we're not wasting them, because money and people are precious. And so having that alignment really helps. And we enjoy a lot of support from the local, state, and federal government as well. The mayor's office, very supportive of us, as well as the governor. And we just had Congresswoman Stephanie Murphy's staff is here, and the message is the same. How can we help? All right. So it's a very collaborative environment there. If we go to the next slide, continuing on how geography really matters. If we look at this map, okay, we have an excellent talent pipeline. It's not just UCF. We have 550,000 students within 100 miles. Okay. And also, we're a DoD, we're a federal lab. We mentioned that. So that allows me to have educational partnership agreements with many of the folks that you see on the list on the left-hand side there. All right. That means we can have interns, joint projects, and creatives. All right. That means more resources to deliver more training and readiness to the fleet. And there's not many places like this with an ecosystem and a pipeline like this near a federal lab. That is something that makes us very unique compared to the rest of the warfare centers and other organizations that you're going to see. And if we can go on to the next slide, please. Okay, so this is talk about NCS really quickly. This is our pipeline to industry. They coordinate industry engagement on behalf of Team Orlando, and a big focus on modeling, simulation, and training. All right. Looking at, and also the science of learning. We have some non-traditionals in that list, and I want to talk to you about. I want to really mention a few there. And you see some there. I'll just point out two. One is Schlumberger, and they do drilling, oil rigs, they do stuff like that. And okay, why are they part of NCS? Well, we collaborate with them. They do a lot of good work with firefighting training. We had some fires back on the sub a couple of years ago. We needed to adapt our training. We couldn't figure out how to get the fires hot enough, but they knew how. They showed us. We learned something from them, and we're able to adapt that to bring capability to the fleet so we can have better firefighting capability out there. You see Disney on there, and Industrial Smoke and Mirrors. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about something they partnered together. But who are they? Well, we know who Disney is, but why would we partner with Disney? But that's suspension of disbelief. But we've had internships with them, and we had sent a logistician out there to go look at the Star Tour, and she was out there and she's looking at the Star Tours ride, and she realized it looks and smells just like an H-60 simulator. Guess what? It was. And she got to looking at the pubs, and they do maintenance the same way. We validated that. And then we also collaborated on what is the best way to do maintenance. Okay. They had a ride called a test track, and they were having trouble. They're trying to because of their availability they have to have there, they're trying to redo about 6 inches of non-skid every night. Well, we know a little bit about non-skid Navy. So we had some folks help them on the best way to put the non-skid back on the track. And they have elevators on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. So we were having, they can help us with problems we may or may not have with elevators, if that comes to, if needed. But there's benefit to having these relationships with these non-traditional companies. And we'll go to the next slide, please. Now, as we continue, why is this important, this slide? You're looking at collaboration and outreach. It's our collaboration and outreach with industry, okay? And we believe in being in sync with them. We want them to know what we're doing and why, so they don't waste their resources. We don't want them guessing. And our whole outreach cycle and acquisition cycle outreach cycle for acquisition starts around ITSIC, all right? Inter-Service Industry Training, Simulation, and Education Conference, all right? It is an NDIA, NTSA event. It's at the Orange County Convention Center the week after Thanksgiving every year, and about 18,000 people come from all over the world to see the latest and greatest in human performance and modeling, simulation, and training. We also tell industry we release information about our acquisition plan for the year there. All right. If you see the stars there, there's 4 stars there, 3, 2, 1, obviously. But we have guest speakers like this year. We're going to have the CNO and the Commandant of Marine Corps. MCPON's going to come down. We've had SecDef. We've had VCNO before. We're going to invite VCNO again. So we get lots of attendance down there. And it's more than just the DoD. We have academia, law enforcement, the medical community with the VA, and then the private aviation as well. So there's a lot of stuff you see down there, a lot of stuff to learn, and a lot of good capability that we can leverage off of and help bring to the fleet. If anyone's interested in that, please ask John Myers in the audience. He can get you some information on that, and he can give you my email address, and we'll get you some information on ITSIC. But it is a great conference. Now, TSIS, that's 6 months out from ITSIC. That's where that's our Training and Simulation Industry Symposium. That's where we refresh it's our acquisition update. And no kidding, once again we sit down with industry and we explain what do we plan on doing for the rest of the year. All right. And this way they can focus their resources and collaborate. They're not working on the wrong RFP. They know what to work on in what order. All right. This year we had ONR as the guest speaker. It was a hybrid event, went very well. He was down there, he spoke. And like I said, once again, a very good event, but it helps industry figure out what we're going to do. And then there's the PUL, the Procurement Administrative Lead Time. And what that is the Army does it monthly. We feel that might be a little too much. We do it every other month, but we basically get together and we talk about our ACT battle rhythm and what's changing, small updates and tweaks, so industry is aware everything we're going to solicit in the coming months. And is well attended. We had over 300 people at the last one. It was a hybrid event, but we had over 300 people there. And then there's our acquisition process exchanges. When there's confusion, when we exchange information, think about when there was a new cyber requirement for bidding on proposals. A lot of confusion. We had so many questions coming out. We had an APX or an acquisition process exchange on that. And we sat down and explained how it was going to work. Industry also sits down with us and explains things that we may not know. For example, the unintended consequences of RFPs. I write something and all of a sudden, you know what they say? That's low price tech LPTA, low price technically acceptable. I'm like, no, that's not what I want. But we have to learn from each other. And it just helps us it helps the DoD, it helps the Navy, helps the other services get what they want and get it on contract and get the right product out to the fleet. And then there's Industry Capability Day. This is, we've expanded upon this, but it allows small businesses to come in and show us their wares. What are they working on? Latest in modeling, simulation, training, AR, VR, mixed reality. They show it to us. We even have one for a day for students to encourage that STEM pipeline and bring those folks in. And one time for the student one, it was really good. Walk in there, you see a beach chair, a bucket of sodas, and some goggles, and they're looking at us, and you just a blank screen. You're sitting there, and you what is this all about? John was there, and we walk up and we ask them. They say, okay, they figured out from studies that you don't do so well on a math test when you're nervous. And we're like, okay. And if you put the goggles on, you sit in your chair, you have a soda for about 5 minutes, you're looking at the beach, nice calm water, you relax, you do better on the test. And they had data to prove that. This improves the scores by 15 points on all these students. And, some smart kids are down there, but we get to see some good stuff that they have and stuff we can adapt and use to the fleet, especially on the small business side. And we'll go to the next slide. And that enables, I really believe that enables NAWCTSD. If you look at our mission, we're bringing training products and services to the fleet, all right? And we coordinate with the other services to do that. The Marines have a program shop down here, but we do aviation training for them. And you look up there and you see aviation, surface, undersea, crossword. What does that mean? It means we do more than just aviation. If you go to the next slide, all right? There's so much more to NAWCTSD than just aviation. Next slide, please. And if you look at it, there's 6 program directorates, all right? And they interface with our customers. They're aligned to communities as well, all right? And we have training across the Navy. We do a lot of training already, and we're just a small Echelon 4. If you think about it, but we're doing training all across the Navy. We have stuff in naval aviation, obviously on the aviation side, we're doing the F-18, F-35, P-8, E-2, H-60. When you talk about surface, okay, you go, we do actually naval aviation. We talked about, Pepe Sullivan was up there yesterday talking about DMT. We work with NATSI Land, enabling some of that great capability and live virtual constructive training. On the surface side, we're the executive agent for training for LCS, and we just were selected to be the executive agent for training for frigate. And you go, how did that happen? It's not because we're SMEs in any one area. We're SMEs in human performance and modeling, simulation, and training. That's where we're SMEs in. And we brought in the SMEs. We put a proposal together, and we brought in all the other warfare centers to help us, the SMEs in surface warfare. And that's how we do it. That's how we do it. We collaborate with other folks, and it allows us to bring that training to the fleet. Undersea MERTS, if you saw that in the video, we developed that. Many of you have seen it. It is a fantastic tool, the multi-purpose reconfigurable training system, MERTS 3D. We developed that here. We have a software development kit, and we actually allow other vendors to put the apps on contractors. Like we have the iPhone, they build the app, they put it in there. We can. That's where we expanded our capacity to get that training to the fleet. We do ready relevant learning, and also if there is a international case, if there's a case for international, we odds are we're doing it. It's about 25% of our business. So overall, we have about 200 plus projects with an average size team about 4 players. That means they move from team to team. Some people work part-time, but it's more like a PEO than a program office when you're managing programs and stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff out there. Next slide, please. And this does it all. I mean, it looks like we have our tentacles in everything. There's training everywhere. There's 3,200 folks at 170 sites, fleet concentration areas, schoolhouses, ROTC units, and they're all providing readiness. All right, and that's domestic and international. The asterisks there have where we are international. All right, and there's about 600 devices, whether they be full motion trainers, part test trainers, merge classrooms, Cove seamanship trainers, standalone computers. Those devices are out there, and we're maintaining them. And when you go to the booth, when you go to a trainer and you check in with simulator, those are our folks that are fixing it, that are running it. We have folks that teach classes. We put those folks on. Those are the training services that we provide there. And go next slide, please. And so we've talked a little bit about training systems. Obviously, what we provide. What do we provide? What are our products? Training systems, the simulators, training content, the courseware, ready relevant learning, training service. I talked about in-service engineers and the instructors and the maintenance of the simulators and stuff we do there. And then there's intellectual services as well. When the Hornets had the example of that, when the Hornets had the hypoxia events, John Myers, as a matter of fact, got the dot for this, but we ended up getting our NERDS team, the Naval Enterprise Research Data Scientists. They made that name up. I did not. But the NERDS team actually came up with a predictive modeling tool to model the Hornets ECS system and predict actually analyze what was going wrong at first, so we could figure out what we had to go fix and how to reduce the episodes, which they did. And then they got it to be predictive, so now they can tell when something is going to go wrong. And we're going to put that into we try to work on not only ECS, but expand into the power plants, into hydraulics and other systems, so we can be predictive. Imagine that. I mean, how many of you, if you had military service, you put an airplane through like a 364 day, and you're the Mo, and you're so proud of your team, and you get it started, you go to start it up, and you all of a sudden it starts leaking fuel, and you got to replace the fuel tank, the bladder, and you're like, oh, why couldn't we have known this before? They are figuring out a way to do that, so you can do that maintenance when the airplane's torn apart and in a million pieces in a hangar, and you can do that. And they can do it with more than just the F-18. They can do it with any platform if you need that to be done. That is a great capability we have, and we can do that. So now you see all these pictures on this slide, and it's for a reason. Battle Stations 21. All right, we made that, and I'm so proud of that. That is the Navy's graduation exercise. That is their capstone event for boot camp. That's when a recruit becomes a sailor. They need to go through Battle Stations 21. And I normally ask if folks have seen it, show me a show of hands and stuff like that. I can sort of see the audience there, but it came out in 2008, right? So since 2008, every sailor in the fleet that went through boot camp had to go through Battle Stations 21. It's a 9th, 10th model of a destroyer. You go inside there. Yeah, the P-ways are a little wider. The ladder wells are a little bit not as steep because you're walking around with groups of people and you're trying to get things done. But they got the point. They got it right. Now, Disney and Industrial Smoke and Mirrors made this together. It's in 90,000 gallons of water. There's a facility behind it in the black that you can't see. Behind that black wall, there's classrooms, firefighting, and nav trainers, right? And we learned a ton about ASABO, or operational availability, from Disney. This thing has to roll 50 weeks out of the year. If it doesn't, imagine that you have a hiccup. Think of the backlog when you're putting that many recruits through to make them sailors. Could not have it, and it works 50 weeks out of the year. Knock on wood. And they got it right. You walk in there, it smells like you're on the pier. You smell the salt water. You see the seagull poop. The facades look like Norfolk. I'm like, wow, I've been here before. And so they bring them in there at 20:30 at night. They've been up all day, these recruits, and they brief them on the mission. You're going up to Newport News, you're going to go ahead and get some ammunition and supplies, and you're coming back to Norfolk. Get underway. And they get underway, and they're on the ship, and they're navigating up there. And while they're up there, they flip the facades, and it's Newport now. So they get there, and it's Newport, and it looks like Newport. They're like, holy, So they get there, and they load the ammunition, they load the supplies up onto the ship, and they get back underway. And halfway back, all heck breaks loose. They get attacked, and they are fighting to save that ship. There is fires. They got to move ammunition from one place to another to stop it from exploding. There's damage control. They're saving shipmates, arcing and sparking. They go into one compartment. The entranceway collapses, as you can see in that picture there. Nothing's really level. They have to find a new way out and drag a dummy out of there. And they're exhausted, and they believe it. Suspension of disbelief. And when they get out, they're on that pier that you can see there. I can't point to it there, but they're on the pier standing there, and they're exhausted. It's morning time. They've been up for over 24 hours, and the flag drops down behind them. Lee Greenwood plays. They cry. They get the cap. They're a sailor. And then that's why they always tell the new CEOs and the chiefs and stuff that hadn't been there, don't easy. Yes, you want to be part of the squadron when you get in the squadron ball cap, but don't just throw that thing on the floor. They earned that. There's a reason to that. And we did that. We brought that and allowed them to do it. And I'm very, very, very proud of that. So next slide. So our focus areas, obviously training sustainment, number one. We're going to maintain those devices. The battle stations 21, the simulators, the bridge trainers, we need to maintain them. Then there's fleet readiness. We need to be able to train like we fight. Live virtual constructive, distributed mission training, linked trainers. That is what we do. We have to do that if we're going to win. And then there's skills training, how to do your job, ready, relevant learning, courseware, and cybersecurity. Newer, but still a focus area. And you have to begin with the end in mind. You can't just bolt on cyber at the end. And you've seen it like the news recently with the pipelines and stuff like that. Cyber is real. There are threats out there, and we need to build our systems and make sure they're secure. And we foster an ecosystem of innovation here at TSD so we can advance that technology, so we can get things like Battle Stations 21 and Merch 3D and those tools that we need to stay ahead of our adversaries. And there is an increased emphasis on data-driven decisions, and we're doing that so we can use our resources smarter, all right, and get more training and readiness out to the fleet. Next slide. So now I want to talk to you about a new initiative that's here down at NSA Orlando, Team Orlando, NAWCTSD, but it's a NAWCTSD. We led this one, but it's Naval X and the tech bridges. All right, if you look at the chart in the upper left-hand corner there, that shows that the DoD is not leading R&D spending there. Private industry is. If we want to stay ahead of our adversaries and keep our R&D up, we need to collaborate with industry, and that's what we're attempting to do. Now, Naval X, ASN and ONR led is we're trying to create an ecosystem of innovation, and there's 15 nodes right now. We're one of those 15 nodes, and we're linking the nodes up so we're aware of all the innovation that's going on. We're trying to make sure that there's not a problem in Pac Northwest that I can solve down here or I have an answer to. All right, and it's a license for me to go looking outside of training. For example, who knew? I used to do electronic attack and AESA radars and stuff like that when I was at Pax River. Who knew there was a trusted foundry, a place called Bridge down here in Central Florida, and they make the wafers? Those places are hard to find. We know that, and it's our job. And I tell folks whenever I think there's an interest that we have that. And we've told folks we have that data, but it allows us to go outside. So you had Naval X, and we're a tech bridge, and the Tech Grove is the place where we're going to make that happen. We actually stood up a physical space. It's physical and virtual. We stood it up, right? And it's run via a PIA, a partnership intermediate agreement. And we do with UCF, University of Central Florida Research Foundation. All right. Well, you can do a PIA because we're a federal lab. That allows us to do that. But why a PIA? And why is UCF running it? This vehicle allows us to bring in venture capital. Now, and John always says, do you hear me? I said venture capital and DoD in the same sentence. People can invest in this, all right? Why? Because we're all about the tech transfer here. And everyone goes, why tech transfer, right? Laser tag was an Army training thing that we did tech transfer on. Someone commercially made obviously a fortune off of that, but people want some of the things that we're doing, that we're collaborating with. And we're creating this, we have these 4 lines of effort. We have this ecosystem we're trying to build and we're talking about there. We're also trying to develop that talent pipeline and sustain it. But then there's the innovation part, that harnessing innovation, trying to solve some hard problems and be new and novel ways. We're bringing in, as my outreach coordinator calls it, garage engineers, or I call them garage bands, but she goes under the garage engineers, and they just want to solve hard problems just to solve them. They're almost not interested in getting paid. They don't know how to work with the DoD either. So we're going to give them easy access too. This thing is actually located in Partnership 4. They can walk right in the door if they want to sit down and collaborate with us. Now, we have multiple federal members. We have all 4 services. The core members of Team Orlando are involved there. Also, we got the VA is interested, but the JAKE, they're in. And we're trying to get the CFT, the cross-functional team, synthetic training environment, trying to get them in. And they're important too, because they have something in that same building called a TIF. Now, the Tech Grove, we're focusing on immature or less mature technology, maybe TRL 4 or 5 and below. The TIF is 4 or 5 and above, or 5, 6 really. So imagine if we find something that we need out in the fleet, or the warfighter needs, we could bring it all the way through, help bring it all the way through the valley of death there, and get those good ideas that we need to the warfighter and solve those problems. And it's an innovation space partnership for that. That's what it is. And talked about the easy access for the non-DoD. Think about it. No clearance. You don't got to submit that clearance. You don't got to go onto the base. Yes, if they're working on projects, we're going to vet clearances and do contracts and stuff like that. Obviously, we have to do that. But for that first meeting, people are overwhelmed. How to do business with the DoD? I have no idea. What's JPass? It spooks them. We can have those conversations, and it's open architecture for multiple uses. It's an open bay setting. We have ongoing projects. We have connections to the LVC dock, the work we're doing on the base. You actually have a connection there. We're connecting to the UF's high-powered computer there. We have prize challenge where people can solve a problem, win a prize. Tech talks to make sure we're collaborating, talk about things of interest in the community. STEM outreach as well, and then SIBR challenge. We had a SIBR challenge. We had 15 folks come there and brief a SIBR they wanted to attack. 13 of them got follow-ons with one of the services and are still actively working. So it's effective. We're doing pretty good there. And next slide. Now, we stood the Tech Grove up a year ago. This sums it up. Part of what NAWCTSD is doing here. And it's all about the ecosystem that we're involved with. There's Team Orlando. That's the community. I talked about that. It's the coalition of the willing. Yeah, we have a CONOPS, but where the government is aligned and we're working together. We're enabled by Naval X. We're a tech bridge. We're one of those nodes on the ecosystems, and we can collaborate with the other ecosystems. So we're doing really well. And then there's a capability, the actual place where the work gets done, and that's the Tech Grove. All right. Now, I think it's a really good thing, and that's what enables NAWCTSD to do what it does. And with that, I'm going to go to the next slide and open up the floor for questions.
Hey, Captain, can you hear me?
I'm going to lean in really close, and it's going to look like you're going to see what my face really looks like. But
I guess
I can hear you.
You have to go thumbs up. When I talk, you can't talk. But anyway, quick question for you. The company I'm working with does stuff with your prime other companies on TCTS pods, right? And LVC. So my question for you is that, how does that really briefly, you're out there doing LVC and one of the program officers is doing it too. Is it just a good synchronization between the two? And the last thing I'll tell you is I'm taking my daughter to SUNY Maritime next week, so to check it out. Anyway.
Awesome. Awesome.
Well,
first off, you did your homework. I went to SUNY Maritime. Very. I'm a graduate of that fine institution, so good deal. But we are in cahoots with PMA 205. As a matter of fact, they fund. We're Navy working capital. We have very limited overhead that we can invest in things that we think are new or novel that will help out. PMA 205 is funding a lot of our LBC efforts there. Okay, we get some help sometimes from our parent command, but we're in alignment with PMA 205 when it comes to LBC.
Thank you so much. Have a good afternoon.
I think that's